need pens. Should have one extra packet up there, right? Are you gonna have four? No, I believe so. I think this is all of us. We found out we got one more. What one more? Not sure if he's gonna make it today or not.
Good, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good.
I gotta use mic, right? Oh yeah, here we go. That's official. Bring this meeting to order. I'm Dennis Jacob. I'm the chairman of the board. Introduce our board members. Would you please introduce yourself?
Mons Larson.
Gary Allred.
Garrett Hoisington.
And Mr. Ruiz will not be with us today. He has another conflict. Okay, this Board of Adjustments meeting is being brought back in as Mrs. Coons is requesting a fence, and I think the best way to do this is let's get a little refresher from you on the situation of what's transpiring, and we'll go review everything. So we can do that. So I'll give the time to you.
This is perfect because it's showing a lot of the things. So there's 3 criteria we need to meet to be able to be issued this variance, and we meet all 3. The first, I'm trying to remember, is that we have something unique with our property that is not common, that is not, well, it's unique
Hold
to
on
us.
just a second. We're looking for
sorry.
something. Okay, got it. There you go.
Oh, perfect.
There you go.
I got a toy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing that's unique to us is we are the only one that has a 3-way stop right in front of our home. I mean, this is our house, the 3-way stop is right here.
Uh-huh.
We also are the only one with a side lot that the curve is right in front of our side lot. We are also unique in right here you can see that our corner does not match the corner of our neighbors. So our corner is set back. So when we follow our property line, that brings us even further back from the street, right here. So that's how we're unique from everybody. Then the hardship one was the second, and we have put a lot of money into that fence. It's a heavy duty, high quality fence because we don't want it to chip. What we're doing is we're working to have our property be nice through retirement with no work is really our goal. And so we wanted something that would stay nice the rest of our life, and that we would never have to replace, we wouldn't have to trim, we wouldn't have to water, any of that. Then the third thing was, is it gonna cause a safety hazard to somebody with what we've done? So, because of this curve, when we back out of our driveway, we don't have to look straight. We look this way so we can actually see. You have pictures from before. We can see cars coming before our car is even enters the road. Plus, we removed, as far as safety, we removed poisonous plants right where people walk by and put something there that is way safer for the public. We've had several neighbors complain about the oleanders along the road. So we have removed those. We have replaced the oleanders with something the same length, the same height as what we had before. We did not believe we would be here at a variance hearing just by changing one barrier for another so that we could have privacy just on that side lot. So we don't always keep our yard as clean as we'd like on that side lot. That's why we want the privacy, so people don't have to see that.
Okay, I have questions, and then after I get done, I'll have the other board members
Perfect.
answer those questions. Did you obtain a permit to put a fence in?
No. I didn't know we needed to do it. I know that Mr. McGoy, he did come to our home and help us plot out our line. And I believe him when he says he mentioned it. I don't remember that. He mentioned Blue Stake. My brain went to, how do we contact them? What do I need to do? Why is there that concern? My brain shifted, so we did not get a permit.
And were you aware of the height constraints of the front of properties along, you know?
No.
But you put in by the way, it's a very nice fence.
Thank you.
And the fence across the front of your property meets compliance issues.
Correct, and we just did that because we wanted to see out. We were trying to
Sure.
keep our neighbors' trash from blowing in our yard was really what started even this whole process.
Yeah. In the ordinance, you can have a 3-foot fence across the front
Right?
that's solid, and you can have a 5-foot if it's a fence that you can see through. Okay. That's
Oh,
part of the
okay.
ordinance. I've been around that neighborhood. I've been looking at properties with this case just to see where we're at. How tall is your white fence post height?
6 feet. I'm not
I think your fence height, okay, let's do this, fence height.
I'm not 100% sure. I've not measured it.
You're looking at me, but I'll go ahead and finish up. Okay, all right, okay. As I look at it, your fence is probably every bit of 6 foot, or a solid 5.5, 6 foot.
Okay.
With the post, you're bumping close to 8 foot. Posts aren't that big a deal, but the solidness of the fence at that height is not in compliance with ordinances that have been passed for years, and not being aware of a fence or a permit system for fences that you are aware of, it creates an interesting part to this. The part that I look at on this is that fence, even though when you were talking about the front and the side, the lot that you're dealing with is not in that intersection, it's above it. So that's a front, that's not a side deal. Any fence that was like, there was some of the pictures you showed
Right?
that had a 6 foot or 5 foot fence running the length of one right down the street from you, the chain link.
Right?
Okay, it's chain link, you can see through it, it's got slats in it, it's a little different. But the house faces
The other direction.
yes,
Right?
which makes that a side fence. And there's a couple of others that I see around that whenever there's a house facing the front of the street, at the house, you know, where the fence can be that height,
Right.
down the street is that height. I mean, it's 5 or 6 foot, whatever that ordinance for that area is. And so there's a issue of a little neglect or misunderstanding. But as far as your fence is concerned, it's, you know, it is attractive, but there's also, as a board member, we have to come up with some type of solution which is best for everybody involved, but doesn't set a precedence that runs rampant.
Okay.
So that's my comment.
Can I make a comment to that?
Yes.
With our uniqueness, it won't go rampant. Because we have unique that nobody else in our area has.
Well, everybody claims to have uniqueness of some type. I was a real estate appraiser for a long time, and I dealt with that little issue right there constantly.
Well, because I drove down, nobody with the side lot has the road curve in front of them, so that there's the issue of being able to see back. So I did drive around and look at that. Every other, well, I don't know where every property line meets, but because of that, it's set back further. And nobody else has a 3-way stop in front of their house. So we do have unique situations that nobody else, so it wouldn't be rampant.
I understand, I'm just letting you know.
Okay,
The concerns I have is we have to follow protocol to a degree that says, hey, this has to be done, or, you know, everybody will have a unique situation somewhere of some type. And we're not here to condemn it, we're here to see if a variance is viable.
Okay.
Okay. Hans, you have anything?
I have no question at this time. You asked the questions that I had in mind.
Okay.
I have no questions.
Well, Garrett, since you weren't here for the first one, are you on board? Are you caught up? Where are we at?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty caught up. Just estimate, what did that fence cost you?
Oh. At least $5,000.
For
Just that section, just that section.
How much for the other 3-foot fence?
It was bigger, so I would say 8 to 10 for the other one. Yeah, we had it shipped from back east because we wanted the quality.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Please take mercy on us. It really makes a benefit to our neighborhood too, please.
Okay, you can.
Just leave this here? Nope,
Leave the pointer up.
okay.
Mr. McGoy, do you have anything?
No, I think, the fact that I told her, hey, you can't do this, and here's the process if you want to try to get a variance, and that kind of leaves it in your hands. If you have questions for me, I'll try to answer them. It was just my interpretation, and if you interpret it differently, that's what we're here for.
That's what it's about, yeah. But you informed her that you needed a permit for that?
I don't remember. I did on the original, when I didn't know she was gonna go further than the driveway when I talked to her. I just knew about the 3-foot fence to begin with, but yeah, she knew she needed a permit, but she also knew it wasn't gonna cost anything. And that's not what I went out there for. I went out there to help her find her pins, but I did tell her that. I distinctly remember I did tell her that. Then when we found the 6-foot fence or whatever it is, that's when we, I probably wouldn't have ever said a word, or I would have never heard about it if somebody hadn't said, hey, can you do this? But then when I went and looked, I wouldn't have said anything had it been the 3-foot fence without a permit, but when we had the 6-foot fence, we had to notify her that doesn't comply.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. McGoy?
Do you see any safety issues with this fence?
I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that, and the county engineer probably should, and he asked me if he should be here, and I said, that's up to you. And he didn't come.
That's all right.
It's.
You can't answer.
It is, if people used the 3 stop signs and came to a stop there, you would never have a high-speed accident, even if they did back out in front of somebody. And in theory, at that slow speed, anything could be missed, but sight distance is the issue on this fence issue. It's about being able to not back over a pedestrian or somebody coming down the street.
Leaving the property.
Leaving the property is the biggest safety issue. And it's the same as at my driveway. I back in because there's a row of hedges at the neighbors that I can't see around, and I don't, so that's how I solve mine. But that creates a whole different set of things when you have to back in all the time. There's kids next door, so that's neither here nor there. But
Okay. That's the only question I have.
okay.
Mrs. Coon, come back up. That's all the question we have for you, thank you. Or that I have.
Thank you for leaving my toy.
What are your future plans for the lot next that you put this fence across?
To gravel it, to try to make it look nicer, keep the weeds out, gravel.
You made mention when you were talking the last time we were here that you were considering putting a big shop or something, you know.
No, what the improvement is that we've gotten a permit to put a patio cover over here. We already have a shop here,
Yeah.
so there's not gonna be another shop. What we want to do is to fill that whole side and behind the shop with gravel.
Okay, so
Is
there's
what our
not
next
any
thing
other
is.
structures besides what's there right now?
No,
Because just so I'm sure what was going on when you were talking last time, I thought there was a mention that you were gonna, on this improvement deal, you were gonna put in another building for
that is not the plan.
workshop. Okay, okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody, is your guest have a comment? You're good? Okay, any discussion amongst the board?
You know, I went and looked at this. It's a very nice house, very nice fence, probably one of the nicer ones in the area. There's 2 entryways. Driving by, you know, they're not real confined. I didn't really see any issues with visibility or, to be honest, it's a side lot, you know, so it's not a front fence that, you know, in front of the house that's 6 foot tall. I think because it's a side lot, 3-way stop right there, there's no safety issues, you know, with a cross street coming, you know, on a corner or something like that, where there'd be visibility issues. So, you know, all in all, my opinion is that I don't see any issues with leaving it and granting a variance. That's where I stand.
Gary?
Well, I feel like when we talk about the safety, that the elected officials have put these ordinances in place for a reason. And they have kind of deemed what is safe in that area as well. As far as the hardship, I don't think there's anything on the lot that impedes it from being put where it should be. The way the lot's laid out, it could be moved if it was planned accordingly. I do agree that where it's at, when you're aware of it, you could take that safety into consideration. But it does go all the way up to their actual entrance of their driveway, and that kind of worried me, is that there's no extra room in the driveway. Right. She knows, and the person taking the picture knows that she's getting ready to back out. Very aware of it. Those are a couple comments I have.
A question I have for Mr. McGoy, what are the options to bring the fence into compliance? Moving it, trimming it, putting a different panel in it? What are options that are available that would, to the best of your knowledge, that would make this fence within compliance? Like say, move it, adjust it, change it, anything like that?
I don't know that, I know some other jurisdictions that their ordinance is worded differently, that you could, if so far from a driveway, you know, you could put it at an angle and then, you know, that would give you more sight distance. We don't have that. I don't know of anything that, other, short of moving it back 20 feet, I really don't know. But if you see that, I mean, Gary's right, this was written with the majority of things in mind, but if you see that she has a unique situation and that it doesn't need to comply or it doesn't have to comply, that's why you guys are paid so much to make the hard decisions. It's, you know, if her situation is justifiably unique and it doesn't set a precedent, see if you determine that she's not unique and then you give it to her, that sets a precedent. If you document her uniqueness or any of the three things she has to prove, or I don't remember how that's worded, but I think you can come up with whatever solutions you see fit.
I think arguably every situation is unique. So, you know, this board can make a decision on every single variance of this type, and they're all gonna be somewhat unique
Although
from each other.
this is only the third request we've had in the last 15 years, so it's not common that somebody asks this, but I don't think we're gonna have a rash of them. But I don't know how better to answer your question, in that to be compliant, she would have to move back 20 feet to the east.
Or take it down or trim it, and
I don't know what it's made of and whether it's even trimmable. I think it's pretty.
what is that hardship?
Yeah, I think that might take a toll on the durability of it.
I have a quick question for our attorney. Well, it was just, well, never mind. I'll just run this. It's not a.
If you want to go into executive session, that's fine. If it's a legal question, you should.
Okay.
If you want to ask the question.
Well, it has to do with the variance. That's the variance issue.
If it relates to a legal question about the variance issue.
Can we do that just for a minute? So I can get this.
You just need your motion.
Oh, I make a motion, we go into executive session.
I second.
All in favor? So we're gonna meet just for a minute to just answer this one question.
See if we can get it done.
We go out here, don't go out there. That round.
right here, it may be the senior leader. Okay, we're back into regular session. I'd like to have Mr. McGoy up on the stand. As we look at this fence, now I'm trying to think how I want to say it, but we know that there wasn't a permit grant done through that application process. The permit's free. The height of the fence and where it's located it's on the lot line. It does comply.
State that last part again, when you say it's on the lot line or what?
It complies with being on the lot line. It doesn't comply in height, but it complies with being on the lot line.
Okay, thank you.
There is a section that talks about a 30-foot opening, et cetera. Would you explain that to us a little better, Mr. McGraw?
Are you talking about 5.2.2A2?
Yeah.
Okay. Along the front property line for open fences, 5 feet. A 5-foot solid fence with an adjusted setback, which isn't specific, and accompanied with at least a 30-foot opening at the driveway so that there's sufficient visibility for safe access to the roadway. Had you asked me that out of the blue, I would have said a 30-foot setback from the driveway, but it specifically says a 30-foot opening. So, I don't know how wide that driveway is. We'd go to the middle of the concrete slab and 15 feet either way. It's possible that she's there. I don't know.
Can I address her?
Sure.
Do you know how wide that opening is?
Yeah, can you read that 30-foot opening again?
The 5-foot solid fence with an adjusted setback so it needs an adjusted setback and accompanied with at least a 30-foot opening at the driveway so that there is sufficient visibility for safe access to the roadway.
So would that be from the fence, the side fence to the end of the other fence, that opening would have to be 30 feet?
The center of the driveway, like you explained, measuring, splitting it both directions.
And that equals 30 feet.
So explain to me, it says, and an adjusted setback, and it has to meet 2 conditions. So explain to me what the adjusted setback, what that.
I'm going to guess at that. I mean, the way I would interpret it is the adjusted setback would fall back on the part of where it says so that there is sufficient visibility for safe access. So that would be an on-site call, I think. The adjusted setback would be probably something me and the engineer would go to. Had we been doing this prior to the fence being built, I think we would have talked that out, and because it is not specific, an adjusted setback doesn't say how far. But it does say so that it makes for safe backing, so that's what we would take into consideration when adjusting that setback. But it does I think it does say it does have to be set back. It just says adjusted and,
Okay, so, because this is a three-way junction and a 20, what's the speed limit there, 25 or less?
I think it is 25.
Yeah, so it's not a high traffic area. I mean, I don't think I might have ran around one car, I might have met one car in about 20 minutes driving around.
But it is still talking about a 5-foot solid fence when it gives those, so it,
Yes.
that doesn't apply to
I
a
do
6-foot
have an issue with the
solid
fences.
fence.
Probably over 5 feet, sitting back looking at it.
It doesn't have an adjusted height, adjusted setback.
Yeah. And we can't adjust the height, so we're out of compliance, so. Does anybody have any other comments you wanna make?
You heard us speak, Mrs. Coons, and talking about adjustments and stuff like that. Are you give us your thoughts on what the discussion was at this time? Is that okay?
My concern is the cost of doing it. Because of the product, we would have to buy more product to move it, to do anything with it. And so my concern is the cost of the adjustments.
Okay. Any questions else for her?
I have none. Gary, you have anything?
No.
Gary?
No, I'm good.
So, I'd make a motion that we vote on this at this time. You can vote and state your opinion, and we'll start down that way. And this way.
Or do we just entertain a motion?
Yeah, we would have to make a motion.
Have to make a motion. Okay, so we'll make a motion for approval or denying the variance of the fence.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as requested for the section of fence that this applies to. Yeah, I think you would have to have a second.
We've got a second?
If there's no second, then it dies, and then.
So we have a second? I'll second it, I guess, because I'm the one that started and you actually did it right. So I'll second it. So we'll vote on this. Our objective is to decide whether removal of the fence or making a variance adjustment for the fence.
I have a question.
Okay.
We talked several things here. And I guess what my question is, what is truly the question before the board? Can we restate that question? Because you stated removal or grant of variance, correct?
So the motion is to approve
As is.
as is.
Okay, all right.
And we say
That was
yes,
wrong.
we vote yes or no on that, correct?
Okay, all right, so we have a motion to approve or deny the fence and
As it stands now.
As is. I need a second on that motion. Since you
So
made the motion,
Yeah, and you're the second.
I'm the second, I'll second, so we'll vote on this. Any more discussion on
So we're voting to leave it as is.
As is. Just let you see right there, based on what we've talked about.
That's the motion.
And the other side of it is if the other side is leave it as is, and the option for the other side is,
The option is no. You would have to create another motion with other.
another,
With another
another
solution.
variance.
Another variance or solution. Is that right?
You could just deny it, or if you have some sort of. Their property, not their property owned. Under our ordinance.
So if we, how many times can Mrs. Coons come back with a different variance request?
As many times as she wants.
Okay, thank you for that information.
If you guys are leaving it, we should probably look before you get the final vote, withdraw it and submit it as, would you do that, you withdraw it and then submit it?
I think we could, if she sees the handwriting on the wall that you guys are gonna deny it, she could withdraw before you do so, and we would not charge her for a amended variance request. If you vote and give her a denial, I believe she has to wait 6 months before she can request another one. I may be getting that mixed up with a rezoning, but it's possible. But at that, if you give a denial, she will have to pay again. If she withdraws, I think we could reword it and put it back through the system. And that's off the cuff answer.
Okay.
But being that the motion is to approve it, and two of you have kind of already signed on to that. I mean, I don't see her withdrawing it, you know. I mean, there's not, I don't know, without 5 of you here to break a tie, I don't know how you work that, but maybe a little more discussion or whatever you think you're gonna do. Or
Well, after the motion and the second, there needs to just be a vote, correct?
Mhm.
And then,
But then that's all you need to say now is all those in favor.
Okay. All those in favor of, say aye.
Aye.
3. Motion carried. I hope somewhere in this process, ma'am, that you've learned a great lesson, that you will go out and do permits.
I have a permit now for my yard. I didn't keep it attached to the house, I would need it and learned that permit. So I do have a permit already. Thank you so much.
And Garrett, your motion did say the fence as built, so she
Yes.
can't add to that or,
As it is now.
Okay.
So no changes can happen.
all right. I just want to make sure we had that in the motion correct.
Now, if something breaks on it and we replace that, is that okay if it stays the same fence?
Yeah, we don't even want to know.
We don't, yeah, you didn't talk to us now. After that, we don't want to open up this, we'd have to open this all back up.
Thank you all so very much.
Okay, this is not on the agenda, but I need to discuss it because it should have been on the agenda. You guys should have, prior to opening this case back up, voted to approve last meeting's minutes. But because we didn't put it on the agenda, we just wrote this agenda based on the last one and it didn't have prior meeting. So we didn't ask that, but I think you probably still should go through the motions of that so we can put it in the record and try to remember that next time. I mean, they're
Put it
probably.
on the, let's put it on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll put it on prior, I mean, you'll see it from now on, but that just didn't happen, but I would prefer that you go ahead and somebody make that, I mean, unless you don't want to approve them, but if you agree with them as printed, I would ask that you make a motion, a second, and vote on approving those minutes so we can sign them and put them in the record.
I move that we, accept the, notes from the last meeting as were presented to us today.
Second. Second, all in favor of? Aye.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks for correcting us on that.
That was a correction on our part, not on you. Where the-
What?
And no comments about how good the secretary looks today, okay?
So,
Nice.
Nay. Nay.
so if our next meeting is, 3 years from now, we have to vote on approving these minutes?
I asked, when you were just getting started, I walked over there and asked her some of that. And she acted like we might be able to telephonically approach you guys about approving the minutes for this. So she's gonna look into that and get back to us.
So the other one is withdrawn.
The other case got withdrawn. I expect it to come back. The issue was that he asked for a setback variance, but A-zone also says you can only build on 40% of the lot. His intention was to build, so he didn't ask for a variance